There we go. So, big up on yourself, family. Welcome.
Hello,
Hello. Thanks for
hello.
having us.
Oh my goodness, I am so excited. I'm here skinning off my face till like my cheeks are actually starting to hurt. So, this is going to be a great episode. Greetings, Pum Pum Posse. Of course, I'm your host, AJ Badass Jones, and this is the Pum Pum Chronicles podcast. And I have not even a special guest, but a special guests. Yes. We have I'm gonna tell you who they are. I'm gonna tell you what their podcast is, but I think it would be due justice for them to talk about more so about who they are and who they're and they're wearing, of course, you see the sexy t-shirt, them come heavy with the merchandise. Yes, them come heavy with the branding. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have the hosts of Cozy with the Rock, a wonderful new podcast that is on couples, married couples, relationships. I have with me Chris and Rashi. Rashi and Chris, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
Hello,
you.
thank you.
Hi. Hello. Thank you.
So, of course, please introduce yourselves respectively and let everybody know about the podcast and where they can find you and all that great stuff.
Rashi.
I am Miss Rashi Cozier, one of the hosts of Cozy with the Rock.
I am Chris Cozier, other host of Cozy with the Rock. Basically, our podcast is about marriage and all the little in betweens, ups and downs, the good parts, the bad parts, the real parts. That's us.
Yes. And obviously, we can find us on IG, on Instagram at CWAR.podcast. And we're also on Twitter at CWAR Podcast, all one word. And like Chris said, we new podcast that's this real uncut about our marriage, and really our goal is basically just to allow people to have some light on the ups and downs that we go through, and honestly, hopefully that we can reach other people who may be facing some of the same things, and who may be looking to get married or who are married. So yeah.
Okay, and that's a great segue into our first question. I'll tell everybody where they can find me after because that's a little less important. But tell the listeners why you decided to start your podcast.
Basically, we had it's a two-part question. First part, we felt that we could do a lot of good with sharing our stories and stories that we know of people around us, and just helping people find ways to improve their marriage and improve their communication. Let you know that there's some goods and some bads to everything. It's not the end of the world if something goes bad. It's not like going to be great all the time. Just be real with people and let them know maybe they're not the only ones going through something, and just shine some light on them. Shine some light on that. The second part is it's a passion project for me and my wife personally. Mainly for me, like it's like a bonding thing with my wife, and that's the undertone of what it is. It's my chance to bond my wife for however long the episode is, plus production meetings, blah blah blah, and just bond with her on a different level outside of the day to day.
I like that. Business and marriage, branding and marriage, I think it's definitely, it's a beautiful thing. I think that, a lot of couples don't look at a broader option of having a business together, or like you said, having something that you do together where you bond, where it is definitely interactive, it's detail oriented, and it's a business and it's a brand, but also you're using it as an opportunity to help others out there. And I think that's absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
So, of course, I am your host, AJ Badass Jones. Yes, we're working backwards. That's okay. We're allowed to do that. It's our thing. You can find me on my social media on Instagram and Twitter at the Pum Pum Chronicles podcast. You can also follow my personal page, which is badass_Jones_. You can find episodes on Apple iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, at Castbox. And of course, I also have a YouTube channel by the same name, the Pum Pum Chronicles podcast. If you want to get in contact with me, you can do so one of two ways. You can send in questions, comments, or anything thereof to thepumpumpchronicles@gmail.com. And you can also call in, but don't call me for foolishness, please. Don't call me to ask me on a date. Don't call me to ask me no personal questions. I'm not here for any of that with nobody, no time. That number is 320-270-10 86, and that is my plug. So let's jump in. So I was privileged to be one of the first set of people within your circle to hear the episode before you launched it to the broader audience. I want to thank you first and foremost for that. I feel like that was such a dope honor. Like, you guys are so awesome. I remember when you asked me, I was like, oh, for real? And I thought it was absolutely amazing. So the first episode deals with an issue within your marriage of infidelity to some degree or other.
Yep.
So I want to ask, because that it's a raw thing, you know what I mean? And so very deeply personal. And it's one of those things where, from having been in a 10-year, long time, million years ago, marriage with my children's dad, like it's one of those things where people, first of all, even admitting that it's happened to one another and having those conversations with one another, it's deep and it's painful. But to come to a decision that you're going to share that experience with the world, you guys are the greatest. Like, no, for real, big and serious. No, because we know there are a lot of people who don't even want to talk about it within their relationship, much less to talk about it openly. What made you decide that was gonna? Because, man, if you were looking to draw people in, trust me, that did it. They're like, shit, I can't wait for the next episode. Like, so what made you decide to share that particular aspect of your relationship?
Of course, we dealt with it. We dealt with the situation in real time when it happened, and we took the necessary steps to, work on it, improve what caused it, all those little details. And when we got past that, and we said we're gonna move forward together, I felt like I was honored, one, that we were able to move past it. It was a dope feeling when she said, yes, we can, I'm still with you. We can work on some things. So with that being said, like, I know my story is not a unique story in the world. I know there's other people that might be in that situation. Maybe the roles are reversed or whatever. But I was comfortable in how, we treated the situation to, like, let people know out there, hey, things are real in relationships. It's not all lollipops and rainbows. It's real. And if you take the time to, like, sit down with your spouse and work through the details, you can come out on the other end beautifully. And I just wanted to share that real moment and let them know, there's growth in that.
Awesome. And I also wanted to just add, we actually were planning the podcast prior to that situation happening. And so I don't know if I think I may have touched on that in that episode where I said that we were planning on it, and then, all of that broke loose, and then we had to work through that. So we definitely did. So I think that it was important for us to, once we worked through that issue, for that definitely to be a part of our story,
right?
To, just be transparent, because honestly, it was something that was real. And I know for me, I did not want to do this unless I was ready to be transparent, to be real, to be able to reach somebody honestly who may have been dealing with the same thing. And, just honestly helping other couples or, single people to navigate, to learn how to navigate. Because obviously we had to get, and we'll continue on another episode where we'll piggyback in the follow-up on that situation. But basically the steps that it took, obviously of knowing, what was the initial feeling that caused him to, seek, attention from someone else. So it was just very real. Super and real. Honestly, I just wanted to make sure that we were above all transparent so that we can, get that message across to somebody, anybody who may have been dealing with the same things. Yeah.
I love you guys for it. Like I said, I know, a lot of couples, because I love to say I'm an old lady and I've been around for a long time. And I know a lot of people who, even within their relationships, they don't want to deal with those sorts of issues. It's like, okay, yeah, it's happened. We're just going to agree that it's not going to happen again. And there's no real deep discussions about it, much less to have a discussion so publicly and to be so transparent and to be so raw and to be so real. Me love no. Because, boy, I don't know, enough people, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that.
It's a lot of for me, because I'm such a private person by nature. Really, I am it was just really crazy for me.
So Rashi, for you in particular, did it did it help in healing in some kind of way to like to be able to say, this is our truth, this is what happened, we're going to say it, we're going to talk about it because we want to be able to, you know, have that experience lend to someone else's experience or to help them? Like, did it change something for you? Like, Chris, I know that, you know, for you it was important to have the moment to talk about it and to be transparent, but for Rashi being on the receiving end of what has happened, did it change something for you in being able to speak about this so openly?
Yeah, I think it was, and we had said this in the past, that it was a part of, it was kind of therapeutic almost, to be able to, I mean, yes, of course, it was, you know, I was a bit nervous. I was not a bit, I was a lot nervous for obviously people who
Didn't know the situation.
yeah, who didn't know the situation,
Right.
and people were just like, what?
Right. I didn't even think about that part.
I was very nervous, but however, I think that it took us to a completely different level of our relationship with, which I absolutely loved. Like, you know, and seeing him just in a different, I feel like we've just both seen each other in a different light. We're on a much, you know, a whole different level from where we were before. And so, above all, I'm honestly just super in tune with him. And, you know, I think it's just above all therapeutic. A lot of it is therapeutic when he and I have that time to ourselves to be able to, you know, work through certain things and to talk it out. And, you know, so, I mean, and for the fact that it could help somebody else, I mean, I think that's just an added bonus.
That's like the cherry on top. I got
Yeah.
it. I appreciate it. So Chris, I had done a episode of What Wednesday Live topic a while back.
Right.
And the topic was, and I had this discussion with a friend of mine, Dawn, but the topic essentially was, are exes off limits? Or if, you know, your best friend, your homeboy, your brother, your brethren was dating somebody and they're no longer together, does that mean that that woman is off limits? And you and I had a separate conversation outside of that, and you're like, no, it shouldn't be, because if they're no longer together and they're not fucking one another and they're not in nothing with one another, then she's it's free, like not free, but you know, like she's
available.
Yeah, she's available. And I was like, I don't know, man, because some people they would get in their feelings, and as you can see, we had that conversation where it's like, nah, it could be 20 years and that woman's off limit. But you had a completely different perspective because you said, you know what, you could be missing out on your one. You could be missing out on the love of your life and the opportunity of a lifetime to be in a relationship with her. So, may I ask you, please, let everybody, I know what the conversation was with you and I, but I wanted to ask you why that was your opinion.
It's a very personal opinion for me, because that's how me and my wife became husband and wife. I was dating somebody else, and that relationship did not work out. And my wife and that person eventually became best friends. So I was dating, yeah, I was dating this person before
So, go ahead.
I was dating this person before I met my wife. She wasn't in the picture when I was dating this person. Then when me and this person broke up, they were in the similar circles. So then they became tight after the fact.
Oh.
Right. So it's not like they were friends, you know.
Right. During.
Correct. But it is still, you know, that type of like girl code, you know. So I was like, but I showed interest before they became friends too in my wife. So that kind of helped. But I let my wife take it over.
So this is crazy because, you know, it's just certain things you just don't talk about. Like, it's just like
you wanna just talk about transparency.
Talk
What
about
you mean?
right?
Certain things you don't talk about. Come with the details.
So I was just putting it out there. Like, this is it was funny because it's just like, I'm like, man, this is just something that I feel like it's just, we know that it's there, but it's just something that we just don't talk about. But in what he was saying, absolutely, he pursued me prior to me establishing a best friend relationship with this person. Okay. And obviously, I still, at that time, that was one of the things that kind of hindered me from pursuing anything with him, because I knew, even though she and I weren't, you know, friends during their time, it was still the fact, the principle. And so I will say that obviously when down the line, when he and I, hooked back up, we linked back up, I did have a conversation with her about it. I'm like, listen.
You're good. Sorry, you're good.
It wasn't a secret that this dude was here, that he liked me. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew. Like every time I would come into town, he would be here. He would interject himself in our, in our circle somehow. It was not a secret that he really liked me. So obviously when I began to see myself like breaking down a little bit, I still was very worried about that, my friendship with her, because I take friendships very seriously. Yes. And so I thought, to have a conversation with her about it, I'm like, hey, Chris likes me. So basically because I'm possibly thinking about maybe giving him a chance. How do you feel? And she was just very, very cool about it. She and she's the type of person I feel like that would definitely, I'm sure, let me know basically how she feels. And at the time she was just like, I think she was already, in a situation already with someone else. And so she basically was just like, absolutely, he's a great person. You're a great person. I think you guys would be honestly perfect for each other. So, I mean, she was super dope for that. And I mean, that was that.
Has your friendship with her changed since you guys have gotten married and so has your friendship changed as you continue to date and it progressed to engagement and then progressed to marriage? Has anything changed? She remained solid.
It honestly did not. Like, nice. And maybe and I don't know, maybe the situation, because you guys are like super young, maybe when you were involved with, when you were dating one another. It's like a childhood thing. I don't know. But I would think that she, would have said something. But I think that, our relationship just continued to grow since then. So I don't think there's been any hindrance.
We're in the same circle still.
Right. And we're still friends.
I like that.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing is, like, in that conversation, listening to people say, oh, well, if I dated her when I'm 16 and now I'm 27, you can't date her because, fam, that was 10 years ago when you guys were a pick-me, like you were in high school. Now you're grown, you're on the threshold of 30. How are you going to say that they can't look somebody that you were dating with? Listen to me, you didn't know your head from your ass when you were 16. You don't want that woman. You're in a new relationship. You can't be telling people that people are off limits. It's just ridiculous. So
sure. I mean, I don't know if anybody felt any type of way. No one. I think it just was one of those things that everyone knows about, but nobody ever talks about it. And so I don't know how anyone personally felt about it, but no one has ever said anything to me about it. So I don't know. I mean, I think, yeah.
So in respect to that, though, do you think that there is a window that is off limits?
I feel that how far did you go with this person? Like, were you almost married or were you married? Well, I guess for some people that's still,
I don't know.
It's a case by case. For me, it would have to be how your relationship was and how much time has passed since the next person pursued this person. Like, all that comes into play, but there's no right or wrong answer in my head. I'm just, my situation is my situation.
I know. I mean, and I can't say that I still don't believe in girl code. I don't know. It's weird. But like I said, I think it's a case-by-case situation. How involved were you? How old were you? Like, I think it just depends on how far you got with a certain person in regards to how long were you with this person.
Mm-hmm. A lot of variables that come into play.
Yeah, I think it just depends.
But the craziest thing is you have some people where even if they were just in the talking stage, they still don't want you to talk to that person. I'll give you an example. No, like seriously, one year I went to Trinidad and, I said to my, a very good friend of mine at the time, we were good friends. And I said to her, like, I need to go on a date. I need like a little man company. You know what I mean? So she's like, oh, I've got the perfect guy to introduce you to. You guys would get along great. This, that, and the third. So she gave us the respective numbers. He and I talked on the phone. We hit it off perfect. We had set a date for that evening. I said, the gal called me and said, oh, I don't feel comfortable with you going out with so-and-so, because I'm like, why? She's like, because I used to date him. And I was like, how long ago? She's like 5-6 years ago. And I'm like, was he your man or you were just sleeping with him? She's like, well, I was sleeping with him, but I really like him. And as the more I think about you guys talking, it made me feel some type of way. And I'm not comfortable with the idea of you going out with him. Nothing more than he called her to say thank you. Like, I really like AJ. She and I clicked, we vibe. We're going to go out tonight. So I don't know if her pum pum caught feelings and she feel like maybe I was going to like text something from him, or I don't know. You know what I mean? But to know that she hadn't been in an actual relationship with him, she just slept with him, but she's carried pum pum feelings 6 years later for a man that she's not even interested in anymore.
Yeah. Nah, gotta let that go.
And you know what? He and I went on the date same way. I was just like, just don't say nothing. But she found out, and honestly, it shifted the track of our friendship to this day. Sure. Like she got into her feelings well about it.
Well,
yeah, to each his own.
Yeah. I rate you guys. I do. I really, really rate you guys. What have been the 2 biggest challenges for you as a couple in balancing the 6 years? Congrats. The 6 years that you've been married. What have been the 2 biggest challenges for you?
I would say one of my biggest things was learning how to compromise and adapting to each other's differences and personalities.
Personality
differences. When you are living, going through life on your own, and, you're living by yourself and everything like that, you begin to develop, a schedule, habits, things, that particularly make you comfortable. And it's just like when you have to then mesh that all of a sudden with somebody else, not alone that you have to learn their now schedule and their personality and what they like, they then have to kind of adapt to or try to adapt. But sometimes those things, it just for the mere fact that, and I gave him this example, like I gave an example. I said, I like to watch TV while I go to sleep. Like I need some type of white noise, something. Mm-hmm. He does not. He likes
black, dead silence.
Black, dead silence. I'm just like, or for the mere fact that I like to watch reruns, and he does not. Just for the mere fact that you're saying something to me about it is just like super annoying. Like, why do you care that I'm watching the same thing every time? Like, this is what I like. Right. And it's just a mere fact of knowing that there's somebody there who's going to question you about something, right, who's going to, maybe challenge you on something that you just in turn love to do, or is just a part of your schedule. Mm-hmm. It's just, I felt like it took me some getting used to, because I'm just like, why you got to comment all the time? Like, why do you care?
I care because I care.
He just wants to be in your mix with everything.
Right. I'm just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, that was my main thing.
Mine was vulnerability. Just being able to trust a person with my deep feelings, my insecurities, my weak, low moments, and trusting her with it. Like, at first, I used to think that if telling her certain things would like bring her down or have her view me differently. And I had to learn that that's not the case, and that she's on my team, and she shares with me her vulnerabilities. So in turn, not because of that, but in turn, I need to do the same with her. So that was something that I worked through. I'm still working through, but that was my biggest thing, because before I kept everything inside, locked up, lock and key, mad, angry, sad, whatever. There was no outlet for it. Now I have a person that wants this to hear these things, and I need to trust her with this information. So that was my big mountain to climb.
Yeah, it's partnership, and you're absolutely right. It's like you live single for so long, even when you're dating, you're still kind of separate, and even when you get engaged, you're still kind of separate. It's not until that moment where you move into the same space and there's no going home. It's not an overnight bag.
Yeah.
There's dresser drawers,
Right.
there's closets, there's hangers. There's no going anywhere. When you're going to bed at night, a month later, it's still in the same bed with the same person, right? And
Yes.
it's definitely Rashi, I'm definitely like you. Like I need some type of knives. Otherwise, I'm sitting there staring to the darkness. Like, are we dead? Like, is what's going on? Like, why is there so much
Yes.
darkness? And
Yes.
and it is definitely adjusting to a rhythm with another person and finding that sync and finding that balance is, yeah, it could definitely be challenging.
Sure.
Definitely be challenging.
Yes.
So Rashi,
Yes.
personal question to you. When Chris first proposed, did you have any reservations about saying yes? First part. And then the second part to that is, what are your thoughts on, and this is a question that both of you can answer, but what are your thoughts on women proposing to men?
Ooh, okay. So, first question. So, did I have any reservations in saying yes? No, I did not. I felt like I knew that it was coming. I was ready. I think that we, or at least I
Like, come
thought.
on, give me my ring. Stop
Right, like
diddling.
my ring it, my ring it. So I start asking. I'm like, okay, he's gonna pop the question soon. So I don't. I think we had spent enough time with each other. We had talked about it enough that I knew when that time came, it definitely was going to be a yes. So I by that time
Yeah, I
I
didn't catch her
had
off guard at all.
huh.
I didn't catch her
No,
off guard.
you did.
Well, when it happened,
You
but
did. I was surprised,
yeah,
but it was because I kind of knew, like I knew it was gonna. I didn't know it was gonna happen when you
when
did
it
it.
happened, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely was
But you
caught off
knew at
guard.
some point.
But I had already made the decision within myself that I knew that this is who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. This is who I'm wanting to be with. So there was no doubt in my mind that when he eventually asked me that it was going to be anything. So yeah. As far as women proposing to men,
Yes.
is that the question?
Yeah. Because let me put some context to it. So I feel
Okay.
like, it's 2020. Everybody talks about being the 20th century and feminism and women's liberation and this, that, and the third. I've been seeing memes where women are on their knees proposing to men, or, they're out buying what seems like an engagement ring, like with a diamond on, ting and ting, and they're proposing to men. And so I've had this debate with a couple of people, and for the most part, I don't know that if it's tradition or if it's because it's more gender specific. Me, I'm like, whatever you want to do is whatever you want to do. I personally am not for women proposing to men. It just seems strange. I don't know if I've examined what that's rooted in, but I feel like there's a level of desperation when the woman proposes to the man, instead of, because it's different when a man chooses you. As women, we choose everybody. And not to say like we're giddy headed, but we choose everybody. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Whereas with men, it takes them time. And
Yes.
when they choose, they're
Yes.
choosing for life. They're not choosing on,
Correct.
no, I want to wear a dress. I want to do, you know what I mean? I want anyway. So that's the
Yes.
context of it.
So, and on that same vein, I am a very, and I heard you use the word tradition, and I am a very traditional type of person when it comes to the hierarchy of marriage and of, establishing that. I feel like I believe in a woman being pursued. I believe in that, that because, and like you said, women, we are nurturers by nature. I
Yes.
think that it is in our nature to fall in love, to want to be in love. That is not men. They do not think about being in love. They don't think about, like, no, you don't.
But it's
Like,
true, you don't.
it's true. Like, I just feel like, when men think of marriage, they think of that ball and chain. Like, it's a serious decision that they have to come to. And I feel like if a woman is then trying to prematurely place him in that situation, personally, I feel like it's just a recipe for disaster. Because if a man has not decided within himself that, hey, this is what I want to do, then he is not going to, the rest will not follow once you in the progression of your relationship. So I think that you just open yourself up to some issues there because that level of commitment may not be there. And I was always taught, get with the man who loves you more than you love him.
I agree.
That was and I know it sounds a bit crazy, but that's what that's what I was always taught. Like because a guy and I think that's the one thing about you that I felt like that made me fall in love with you, because I knew you showed me that you, number one, was ready, and that two, that you put me above yourself. You put me above everybody but God. Like I knew that he was going to completely treat me. And so that said a lot to me versus something else that I felt like I wanted, a dude who wasn't even checking for me, who I was doing the absolute most trying to gain his attention. And I realized that if we even did go, if this even went anywhere, that would be the character of our relationship.
Absolutely.
I would always be trying to do the absolute most versus the reverse. You know what I mean? And so that's why I was just like, okay, I got to rock with the person that I know who's super pursuing me and who super is, is definitely for me and who would definitely treat me like a queen versus somebody I'm sweating who really ain't checking me in the first place. So I don't know. That's just me. Like I believe in being pursued.
Good job.
Chris, what are your thoughts on that? If a woman ever proposed to you, would you think like
get up,
yeah,
baby.
I'm like,
get up.
Stand up. I would think it's weird. I would think it's weird. Like I'm like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, because I feel like that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. But I'm not against people shooting their shot. Like, right. If you feel like you want to shoot your shot, it might work out for you. But as far as me, like, that's my job. And if I wanted you in that way, you would already know.
Yeah. I remember my brother had said that, much like Rashi said, it's not that men don't love, and it's not that men don't fall in love, but men don't get married for the giddy-headed, flighty reasons that women do. And not to say that we're giddy-headed and flighty, but when a man proposes, in those moments, sometimes even when you don't want to marry that man, because he's giving you a 4-carat rock, you say to yourself, shit, bitch, I'm making this work. I want the wedding. I want the reception. I want the honeymoon. He might get to squeeze one baby out of me. And then, you know what I mean? By the time you look at the situation and you're heading down the altar, you're like, what am I doing? How did I get here? And I know a few women who are like that they got struck by the diamond. And when I tell you the week before talking, said, me not like the boy. Me no want nothing with the boy. And then the boy comes with a 2-carat ring and says, I love you. Do you want to get married to me? And she's, oh my God. And next thing you know, they're planning a wedding. And a year later, they're getting divorced because she's remembering that she never liked the boy. You know what I mean? So with men, like my brother said, it's different. They look at longevity. They look at, can this woman provide a home for me? Will this woman be a good mother to my children? Will this woman be a supportive woman in my life? Is she going to stress me out, or is she going to, give me peace of mind? And they look at women in that way. I think that, Rashi, like you said, because we are nurturers by nature, we want to love everybody. we want to love everybody. All when they don't really love us, we're trying, you know what I mean? Because we feel like if we love them more, show them how hard we're willing to go, that they're going to come around. And yeah, they'll come around, but not for the right reasons.
Right, exactly.
So for both of you respectively, outside of having your son and adjusting to life with him, what has been the biggest challenge in settling into your marriage, and how did you overcome?
Again,
has there been a challenge?
I mean, again, living with each other and our
vulnerability for me, the personality differences for her. That has been it. Just make sure that meshes well on a daily basis.
And communication.
For sure.
Was that ever a challenge? Like, especially in the beginning?
Oh, yes. Yes, because I think Chris, he's definitely an introvert, and it's like sometimes pulling teeth with him, with trying to get him to talk about certain things, especially if it's something that
Makes me uncomfortable.
makes him uncomfortable. He's a super deflector in those moments. He, puts up a wall very quickly, and sometimes that gets exhausting.
Yeah.
And so,
Sorry.
That's okay. but but we've had to learn, to work through that, because and with me, I shut down a lot as well too. If I get upset, I do the silent treatment thing. When I don't get my way, and I realize that a lot of times I will not get my way with him when he has his mind made up. And so it's just like that compromise and communicating effectively.
Yes, effective
communication and knowing how to, properly, even if we're in an argument or in a disagreement, knowing how to do that in a healthy way, right? You know what I mean? So that definitely, communication, I would say, was definitely a big thing that we're even still learning to do.
Yeah. It's an evolutionary process. And, I think for couples who have survived for long, for decades, you have to continue to grow and learn about one another, because you're continually, hopefully, growing and learning about yourself, and those things change. When I look at my children's father and I, when we were together, we met when I wasn't even 21. It's 20 going on 21. And 10 years later, at 30 going on 31, we were just very different people. We grew into our adult selves. And, even in with communication, like, we realized that we were definitely not kids anymore. And we had very different ideals. We had different, thoughts about relationships and thoughts about marriage and thoughts about the things that we wanted to do. And I mean, it was rough in parting, but it was necessary, because I feel like had we stayed together another 10 years, we would have been at each other's throats, and it wouldn't have been peaceful. And it also wouldn't have been good for our kids,
Sure.
Right. Did you guys have a period of living together before you got married and moved in together, or did you wait?
No, we did live together, but it was with his mom.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were living together, but it
wasn't really living together.
It wasn't living together. Okay.
Right.
Because
we weren't. It's weird.
I wasn't able to be a wife.
Right.
Okay.
You didn't have the independence.
I wasn't able
to establish. Jamaican woman.
Okay. So
we were her
children. That's all you need to say. That's all you gotta say.
We were her children.
So it wasn't like we were able to establish certain things or get used to certain things, because I mean, we were living with his mom. So yes, we did technically live underneath the same roof before we were married, but I feel like it wasn't on our own.
No.
So.
But even still, with having that opportunity to live together before you got married, do you think that helped to bond you more?
Or we bonded in a way we're trying to get out. That was
right. No, but it did give me insight into a lot of things in regards to how because obviously we were living, so it did give us a preliminary view of kind of how you dealt with certain things, what your what your habits were like. So because you knew that about me, like that I needed things to go to sleep to, prior to us getting married. Right. Like it wasn't it didn't catch you off guard. So we did have that time that I felt like kind of ushered us into knowing what each other's, how we lived from day to day.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah.
So segue into the next question, but I've always been an advocate of people living together, just from my own personal experience, for at least maybe 6 months leading up to getting married, so that you don't have those surprises like he leaves toothpaste in the sink when he brushes his teeth, or I need to have music or the TV playing at night so I can go to sleep. I like, AC on so the house is freezing cold all the time.
Yes.
Arctic cold. Let's go.
And those kind of things. Is that something that you would recommend, not recommend? Or does it just depend?
I would recommend it.
I think
I was taught not to recommend it.
Right, I was taught not. We were taught not to. That obviously for obvious reasons. the whole premarital sex thing.
But you guys are gonna fuck anyway. Sorry, not to be raw, but you guys are gonna have sex. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're getting married anyway. You're gonna be having sex.
Right. And I am, and don't get me wrong, it's not that I did not, obviously we did not abide by that. But it's not that I don't believe in it, because I think I'm going to teach my children the exact same thing. But I think that there is some sort of I feel like it kind of makes sense to at least 6 months up to leading, because it could be shell shocking. Right. Like it could be like, hold up, I did not sign up for this. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and I feel like when you're in that stage of, you feel like you're still in that honeymoon phase. I feel like a lot of people are not being transparent. Right. They're not, see them in a certain light. You know what I mean?
You're in the bubble of euphoria.
Huh?
Yeah. I said you're in the bubble of euphoria. Yes, you're in that bubble of being in love and the bell. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like, you're not, I'm gonna say for me, we weren't speaking about certain things like that. Like, okay, over the phone. Like, oh, so how do you like to sleep? Do you sleep naked? Do you sleep with? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we were like, so how do you brush your teeth? Do you
don't experience
what
I'm
saying?
You don't experience right in front of your face.
Exactly. So I feel like it kind of just makes sense, like leading up to it, like that you at least spend some time like in the same space, living in the same space with somebody, because that can be like detrimental. Like, you can just be like, hold up,
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
But it's true, and it's like, so if you take, for example, somebody who was OCD, it's very different if you have your person coming to spend weekends with you. You know what I mean? For like 1 and 2, maybe 3 days if it's a long weekend. Maybe if they have vacation, they come for a week. But then your life goes back to normal. It goes back to whatever it was prior to your person coming to stay with you. But when they're with you and they can't go anywhere, because there's no overnight bag. It's the closet and the dresser. You know what I mean? It's very different. Like, oh my God, I didn't know they snore like that. I mean, I heard them snore before, but it's like, it was gentle. Now they sound like a truck driver. What's going on? You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't know they drank juice out of the orange juice container straight like that. Whenever they came to visit, they used a glass. People, you know what I mean? People have, like, it's like when you're at home. Listen to me. If I could eat with a spoon all the time on the road and it wouldn't be embarrassing, I would eat with a spoon all the time. But I know that's inside my house behavior versus out on road behavior.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like when you're with somebody where you're going to just see them for the weekend, you want to show them the best parts of yourself. You know what I mean? If you have to pass wind, you're not doing it beside them. You're going to the next room or the bathroom or saying, "Oh, I'll be back in a second." But when you live together,
in there in your face.
There it is.
All the time. All the time.
Right.
So I've always said that people should wait until they're in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s. It's something that I've learned just kind of from my own experiences, because I feel like people have a better sense of themselves when they're a little bit older. You're still young enough to have babies, but you're old enough to have been out of the, want to go out to the club all the time, want to hang out with, your peeps all the time, and having to fight those battles. What are both of your thoughts on that? People waiting a little bit longer to get married versus in their very early 20s.
I'm for it. I'm all for it. Just for the same reasons you said. You know yourself better. You know your temperaments. You know what you like, what you don't like, way more. But we've had family that marry early, marry young, and tell us, we're doing it late. But I feel like it's the perfect time when you wait. It's a little later, just for a sense of like establishing yourself, establishing money, establishing things. It's a better timing, my opinion, to wait a little later than just to come off.
Because when you're younger, I feel like certain things you haven't even gotten to do when you're like super young, when you're 20, 21, at least for myself. Like, there's a lot of things like financially I wasn't into, like in job wise, like I didn't know, like I don't think I would have known even how to even deal with those types of things that came along. You know what I mean? Versus, when you wait, like we waited, I was 28 and you were 29. And of course, like you said, my family was just like, girl, you are waiting too long. Like, what's going on? But I think that it was important for us to establish, like, kind of know what we wanted I think it was important to have those experiences, to have time to decipher, okay, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And sometimes, and I'm not knocking people who do get married, married early. I mean, whatever works for them. But I think more times than not, you don't really know yourself that great when you're 20 and 21.
Right.
Like, I don't feel like you've lived enough. You haven't had enough experiences to be able to decipher, what things that I like and what I'm looking for and what my expectations are at that point. Because, you really haven't experienced
developed them
it.
yet.
Yeah, you haven't experienced them yet. So, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I think that's something very important and very key that you said, is that you don't even know enough about yourself to even know how you're going to function. Because this is not just your boyfriend. This is not just your girlfriend. This is your wife, your husband. It's a lifetime commitment. If you don't know enough about yourself and what it is that makes you happy, or what it is that you need, in order to function properly day to day, how are you going to expect to be able to give enough? Because part of the job in a long-term relationship and in a marriage is helping to give the other person the tools to support you, the tools to help the relationship work. Shit, if you don't know enough about yourself, you're still trying to figure out if you pee sitting down or if you pee standing up, how are you going to say to the other person, this is what I need from you in order to feel whatever, and this is what I can give to you, or this is what I bring to, man, you're still basically sitting in a high chair. You don't even know what you bring to the table. You know what I mean? You're just coming out of the high chair and just getting into the big people chair. You don't even know what you bring to the table. And it's I think that for our parents, I think part of it is, in their generation, when they got married, there weren't a lot of options. It was, you get married and you have a family, and that's just life, and you struggle and you fight and you kind of figure it out. But if you have an opportunity to grow and develop and mature yourself on your own, and bring your actual authentic self to a relationship, and not have to fight as much and not have to struggle as much, why would that not be the better option?
Yeah, of course. Agreed. Definitely agreed.
So of the two of you, this would be an interesting question. So of the two of you, who is closest to their family, and does that relationship ever interfere with your marriage?
I would say, I know I am very close to my family, specifically my siblings. I am very close to them. We talk every day,
like daily,
several times a day. So I would say, and I feel like you are.
I was waiting for you to finish.
He's like, I got my own story. Girl, talk your team. So, let me say mine.
I am very close to my family. I am to my cousins, to my sisters. But I think that what caused me to be super close to them is the fact that we did lose our parents at a young age, and so that caused us to gravitate to one another, and we basically depend on one another. So does that ever interfere with he and I relationship? I don't think it ever does. I do believe that they do respect our marriage, and they do respect the fact that if we're trying to make maybe plans or something like that, and I always be like, all right, well, let me ask Chris. They won't ever fight me on that. I feel like they are very respectful of his position, and knowing that I'm always going to consult him, and I'm always going to look for his feedback and consider what he's saying, versus, so they don't ever try to intervene with that. Because some people will be like, girl, please, don't worry about what he's saying. Like, people don't really respect that sanctity of marriage. And so when they don't have that respect, then they're liable to, try to sway you to do other stuff. But I will say that my siblings all are very respectful. So I don't think that it intervenes. Our closeness never intervenes. He and I, our relationship.
For sure. Yeah, I'm close to my family too. It's my mother and my siblings, my side, and yes, we are close. We don't talk every day.
The look over.
But we are very close, my mother especially, and she makes sure, whenever she asks me, "Oh, can you do me a favor?" They always come, "Can you do me a favor? Can you take me to doctor?" Blah blah blah. Check with your wife, make sure you're good.
Good.
So they all respect. My siblings, same way, they respect our marriage. So
yes.
It's always, "Hey, can we do such and such on this day? Talk to Rashi and see when she's available." It's like it's included. So yes, we're all close to our families. Nothing has ever caused a rift in our marriage from our families. They don't give us those vibes.
Absolutely.
And I think that's beautiful. So, Rashi, you're originally from America?
Yes.
You have Caribbean background?
No.
Okay, so you've had the experience of having Caribbean background.
Yes, which is crazy because I have family who is Caribbean background. It's crazy, but I myself am not Caribbean background.
Right.
But I've grown up around Caribbean.
So we know that, for a lot of West Indian women, mothers with their boy children,
yes.
Sometimes they want to step in and overstep their boundaries and act the craziest. Just call it what it is. And I'm a Jamaican mom. I don't do that with my son because I've seen that happen. Sure. And the way that it takes away, I don't want to call it power, but it takes away the wife's position. Mm-hmm. And of course, because it's, her son, he's not going to be like, "Mommy, stop now." You know what I mean? Like, he might say it gently, but he's not going to say it with no kind of put my foot down type of way, Right. So big up Chris, big up your mom that she recognizes the thing and she respects it and she doesn't.
She is amazing. And I've seen different situations where that is not the case, like you said, mm-hmm. where, they're just very involved in their son's life. And not to say that she's not involved, but she does she does not overstep at all.
She also calls my mom the Americanized Jamaican.
She is I feel like she's just not your typical, she's not because she always I've seen her do it where she's just like, "Honey, that's your husband. That's you got to check with your husband." And she's never ever trying to assume the position of how they that main position in their son's life. I'm number one.
Yes.
And I am grateful for that.
Big up your mom. Yes. Blessings to her. Okay, so a personal question. Mm-hmm. Is too much sex or too little sex, intimacy, romance ever an issue? And if it is, what is the best way to resolve it? Not just for yourself, but what advice would you give to other couples on what's the best way to resolve? If one person has a higher sex drive or not.
You have to communicate and compromise.
Sure.
I think that's the best. You talk about what you need. What do you need? Be real with your feelings. This is what I need, or this is not what I need, or whatever. Just talk about it. And I'm pretty sure amongst the conversation, if you really are, down for one another, you will see where the other person is coming from, and you can try to find that middle ground.
Sure. I don't know what's too much sex or what's too little sex. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it's just about intimacy and going in the moment. You know what I mean? I don't think we've ever declared okay, we need to have sex every day or twice a day.
Yeah, never had that conversation.
We've never had that conversation. It's just in the moment. We, and try to be in tune with one another. And, that it's all about, being intimately aware of one another, and knowing that, okay, well, this is an intimate moment and whatever happens in this moment happens in this moment. And
do you think that intimacy changes to some degree or other when people get married? Because again, I've talked to a lot of people. So there's a gentleman that I know who he says his wife, they have to have scheduled days. So their scheduled days are Wednesdays and Thursdays.
This is to have sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you see how you looked there, how you sounded, you're like, what?
Wow.
That's exactly what I thought. I said, what do you mean?
Are they
He's like,
busy?
yeah, she
They
says
have like busy
she
schedules?
yeah, they have a schedule. No,
No,
they
I'm
don't
saying
have busy.
so
Oh no, no,
their
no.
day schedules
He's
are
at
busy.
home. She works from like 8 to 4. They don't they've got grown children. There's nobody in the house but them. Like people will come by and the family will come by and sing, but you know what I mean? But she says that the best days for her are Wednesdays and Thursdays. So part of the problem, not problem, but part of it is that they've been together since they were like 14, 15 years old. So it's like, I don't know. He says his sex drive is really high and it's frustrating because it's like, again, he has to wait till Wednesday or Thursday. And God forbid she's not on her period because then he's screwed out of a week entirely. And she's not into doing anything supplementary
How
to
sad.
help him.
How sad.
Right. And then I know other people who, before they got married, the wife is doing all kinds of tricks and swinging from the chandelier. And then when they got married, she's like, well, I'm not doing all that because we're married. We don't need to do all that other stuff. We can have sex, but I'm not doing all the fancy tricks and bells and flipping upside down and all them things there.
That's so interesting.
The
Like,
look on your face, Chris, you're like, what?
like, I didn't know people did that. Like, I see it on movies and stuff where they're just like,
it's
okay,
based
it's
really,
I almost saw a plus to scheduling it, but then when you said that he has a high sex drive and it killed my whole. I was like, some people get so caught up in life, day-to-day life, that you might forget. Like you will overlook that.
right.
Just hustle and bustle a day, and then days go by and days go. So scheduling it would be a good way to make sure you still have that connection. But then if you're just, that's weird though. No.
But you know what? The fact that you said that, I'd actually never thought of it that way. That sometimes you do get so caught up in everything else that you really and truly forget to be intimate with your person, because it's like you guys sleep in the same bed every night. And so you're not really thinking about it. You're like, okay, well, I cuddle up beside you all the time. You're like, yeah, but when's the last time you guys actually made love? You're like, well, we sleep in the same bed. But when's the last time you, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to get showered up, turn on some music, put on, light the candles and ting. Wednesday and Thursday nights are our nights to be intimate and do all the, the sexy, passionate things. So I actually never thought of it from that perspective, that if you have really busy schedules, it would make sense. But then if one person isn't really busy and the other person is kind of like in a regular job and there's time.
And I got to wait until, that on that side, it's like, why?
Right. I feel like it creates anxiety in your relationship, or sexual anxiety too, because it's like,
I gotta wait till we'll circle my calendar to jump your bones. It's gonna be like, yo, that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought that was weird when I heard I would hear it on TV, like, oh yeah, we have scheduled sex, but to me, I just believe in just go in the moment, like. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, if it just so happens to be every day, then it's every day. If it's every other day, then it's every other day. Like, it just, I don't know.
Could you imagine waking up on a Monday and thinking, I want to ravage her, but hold on, I have to wait 2 more days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How frustrating would that be?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'll be sad in between days.
Then Rashi be like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're like, nothing, it's not Wednesday. It's only Monday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So before we get into our couples Q&A, I have one more question for you guys. So sometimes couples grow apart being married and everything that happens in the hustle and bustle of life. How important are your vows to you long after you've gotten married? And if a couple has grown apart, do you think that they should still stay together?
Well, vows, very important. My opinion. Couples growing apart. I've seen that happen.
I gave you the example of my children's dad and I. Like, we were very young. As we grew up and got older and became more aware of ourselves, we just grew apart. We fell out. I wouldn't, like, we still loved each other, but we fell out of that, that giddy-headed type of love, and we grew apart.
I think so. My take on that is people growing apart. I think it's easy to do if you are not consistently putting in work because I feel like if you have two people, it's, obviously when you I'm different from when I was 21 versus now. So even if, say we got married at that time, and obviously we're going to grow as the years go by. Mm-hmm. Change is the one constant of life. Like, you're going to change, like everything, things will change. You will grow into, to different people. I think that, in terms of people growing apart, that it very well can happen. But I feel like if you are, in terms of your vows, in terms of staying together, I think that if you are consistently checking in with one another and making sure that, you have that line of communication open, where you are then able to kind of maybe start growing with each other, it will be hard, because people just don't wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm a completely different person. And
it's a gradual
thing. A gradual situation. So that means that if you're consistently changing, obviously, and you're not checking in with one another, then obviously, you're going to consistently start changing, and you're going to consistently start growing apart, because you're not checking in with one another. You're not, making sure you're having those necessary conversations to ensure that, okay, if you are thinking something different, then how can we effectively communicate? How do we make this work with your different perspective and my different perspective? Mm-hmm. And, that way you can begin to learn each other and grow basically with each other, consistently, because people just don't wake up and are different people one day. Like, right, that absolutely. That's a gradual thing that happens. So, but obviously, if you have gotten to that point where you no longer are compatible with one another, I do say try to find a way to make it work. Like, have you exhausted all of your, options at that point? Are you saying like, okay, well, we're just different, and I don't want to be together, we shouldn't be together anymore? Or are you trying to figure out a way, how do we effectively, mesh our worlds to where we can, live in a space that both parties are happy, that both can be kind of our individual selves together. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, have you exhausted every option before? So I would say that exhaust every option before you call it quits.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, like, with us, he was not open to having conversation. He wasn't open to, we tried couples counseling once, and he's like, I'm not going back. Sure. Even trying to have dialogue with him about like the way that I felt and how I felt that things were different and what we could do to try. He wasn't open to any of that. He just didn't see a problem, even though there was clearly a problem. Like, we had stopped being intimate. We had stopped sleeping in the same bed. He would sleep downstairs on the couch and I would sleep upstairs, and either, the baby would be with me, like, I'd just keep her in the bed for company, or both the kids would, sleep upstairs, or that kind of thing. So it's like, you have to make an effort, and both people have to make the effort. It can't work. It's like two hands trying to clap and only one hand is you're hitting air, right? You're hitting air. Both hands have to work together in order for to make the clapping sound. And that was part of the major part of the reason why we fell apart, is because he just was not, for whatever was going on with him, and he just wasn't open to any kind of dialogue about changing anything. And even that, when I finally came to the decision and I said, like, this just isn't going to work anymore, even if he was broken up about it, man, when I told you he held that shit in, he held it in. Because it's like, okay, well, if you feel like that's the right decision for you, then, we need to talk about, what we're going to do with the kids. And I'm thinking, like, are you listening to yourself? Like, how are you not saying, no, let's fight for this? But that, in that moment, it let me know that there wasn't any way possible that we could survive.
He had checked out, and he had given up, and just kind of beating a dead horse at that point. So both people have to be willing to, even though recognize, hey, there's an issue, and then decide, is this something that we both want, and are we both going to do the necessary work to make it happen? Absolutely. Because then if you don't have that on both ends, then you're really just beating a dead horse at that, and avoiding the inevitable at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm watching Chris's face. Chris is like, yeah, my wife knows what she's talking about. Like, the look, you're like, yes, she knows. Okay, so we're going to lift some of the heavy and conversation off for a minute or two, and we're gonna play a game called Cozy and Comfortable, a play on your last name, like the Cozier them. Hey, so we're gonna do a couples Q&A. So the first part of the Q&A, I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, and all you need to do, well, because it's audio and visual, you're going to hold up your name. So if you feel like you are the right response to the question that I asked, you hold up your name and then say your name. You have to audibly say it as well so that people who are just listening audio wise can hear it as well. Okay?
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So the first question, I'm just going to go through them. First question, who's the better cook? What's that? Who's that?
Chris.
You're the better cook?
I'm the more consistent, so that makes me better.
That's not what
I didn't say more consistent. I asked who's the better cook.
She said the better cook. Whose food tastes the best?
So Rashi.
Me.
You can have that.
Me. Rashi.
Okay. Who's the better kisser?
Me. Me. Chris.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
I see that.
Yeah, Rashi's not fighting you on that at all. Who's more afraid of bugs?
Rashi.
Okay.
Who initiates sex more?
Chris.
You said that so big and proud.
Chris. Very proud.
I'll give you that.
Okay. Who snores more or who snores louder?
Chris.
Whoa.
Chris.
Okay.
Come, Chris, hug it.
Chris.
All right.
Okay. Who's the better dancer?
Chris. What? Chris.
The better dancer?
Chris.
No, honey. It's Rashi.
Oh.
Me.
When do you dance?
Babe.
When do you dance?
Oh my God.
I'm here every Sunday with my music blast. I'm getting it.
Just because you have the rhythm inside you, that don't mean
Wow.
that you have rhythm
It's
outside.
Right. Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay. Who takes longer to get ready?
Rashi.
Me.
Okay. Who's more vain?
Me.
Who is the messiest?
Rashi.
I am?
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of hugged that one really easy, Rashi. Come, just accept it. Just take it.
I am.
She says, I am, as she's putting up her card. Yes, it's you. Who owns more shoes?
Rashi.
Me.
Okay. Who owns more clothes?
Rashi.
Me.
Okay. Who is better at planning?
Me.
What? I guess it depends on what it is.
What? That was my strong point. Chris.
It depends. Yeah, Chris ain't budging on that one.
Chris.
Okay. Of the two of you, who is more of the jealous type?
Rashi.
I would say me.
Rashi.
Me.
Okay.
Yep.
Who is more superstitious?
I would say me.
Are you? Barely.
Sort of.
Barely.
Okay. Who has more of a sweet tooth?
Rashi.
Me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Who is better at grocery shopping?
Chris. He does all the grocery shopping.
I'll give you that.
Okay. I already know how this one is going to go. Who's the better singer?
Oh, Rashi.
Oh, I thought Chris, because you said about your music and thing, you know?
No.
Okay.
Instruments. Vocals is all her.
Okay. Who is more sentimental?
Rashi.
Me.
Okay. So now these are individual questions to see how well you guys know each other. Okay. So Rashi, what is Chris's favorite color?
Blue. Red.
Say what?
Red.
Okay. Chris, what is Rashi most scared of?
Wow. Are you recording right now?
Yeah, we are. You might have to give him a hint on the sly.
I really don't remember.
What I'm most scared of?
What are you most scared of?
I
don't think we even discussed anything.
I don't even think I've ever even disclosed that.
Okay, fair enough. Rashi, what's Chris's favorite song?
Oh gosh. Favorite song?
That's hard.
I'm gonna go something reggae.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Is the genre at least right, Chris?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Reggae dance.
Chris, what is Rashi's favorite meal?
Ooh. What is your favorite?
What do I love?
What does she love? Yeah. What is the thing that she loves that she could eat?
Dessert.
Hey.
Desserts?
She's a dessert head.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
So Rashi, where did you guys go on your first date?
Oh, man, we always are in conflict about this. We both never remember.
We don't remember.
But I want to say our official first date.
The official one.
Our official when when we were serious about one another.
Okay.
Our first date was when we went to we were in Sanford, and we went to the fair, and then we went to the movie.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Yes. I think that was the first date.
Chris, what is Rashi's favorite song?
Something from Whitney Houston.
Hey.
I don't
know. I can dig it.
It's a Whitney Houston song.
Girl.
Rashi, what is Chris's favorite way to relax?
Ooh, to be home, quiet. Yeah, candles.
No, anything.
Huh? And I don't know what you're doing.
Give her a hint. Write it down. Write it quietly.
Oh, a bottle.
Oh, how could I forget? With a bottle of something, rum usually. Yes. Okay. To relax.
Chris, I'm gonna give you a hard one. Where did Rashi go to school?
What, college?
Pick any school you like. It doesn't make a difference.
I know all her schools.
Okay.
Okay. She went to school in Miami, Miami Union Academy, and then college she went to Southern University.
Okay.
Ford Hospital?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Rashi, who is Chris's favorite superhero?
Oh man.
Your son knows.
Oh.
Yes.
Batman, Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Yes.
Chris, for Rashi, heels or sneakers, which does she prefer?
Come on, man.
Sandals is plot twist. It's sandals.
Seriously?
Sandal girl.
Yep.
All right. I love it. So that is the end of our couples Q&A. I thank you both for participating. Before we go, my closing question, do you have any words of wisdom from your 6 years of marriage for newly married couples?
Be honest with yourself. Be honest to your partner on how you feel, good, bad, or ugly. Be honest and open and listen and receive what the person says back.
Yep. I would say the same for couples who are looking to get married or who are engaged or who are newlyweds or who are married. Effective communication is very important. Discussing the good, the bad, the ugly, being very transparent. Just making sure that you're just ready to put in that necessary work that it takes. Just from experience, and we had mentioned this in our first episode where, couples get very comfortable and they get in a position where they're coasting along and they're really not really checking in with one another. They're not, communicating effectively. So just make sure that, you are very in tune to one another and that you're just putting in the necessary work that honestly it takes to make sure that, you're really great, effective communicators.
I love it. Thank you both so much. I appreciate you taking your time. Please let everyone know again who you are. Let them know about your podcast, where they can listen to your podcast, and anything that you have coming up. I don't know if you guys are selling merch. Love the badass t-shirts. Yes, love them. And just everything about where people can find you, please.
Right. We're not selling merch yet, but maybe in the
Soon,
future. Maybe in the
soon.
future.
Hopefully.
I'm Chris, and this is my wife Rashi. You can find us on Twitter at CWAR podcast, one word, on IG CWAR.podcast. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Podcast. Yeah. Basically,
The link is in your bio? Is the link in your bio?
On our bio, on our IG, and on our Twitter. But basically, anywhere podcasts are, we did it.
Yes.
Okay. And the name of your podcast?
Oh, sorry. Cozy with a Rock is the name of our podcast. That's us.
Okay. And I, of course, am your host, AJ Badass Jones. Thank you for listening to another week of the Pum Pum Chronicles. Pum Pum Plastic, bless up on a self. Stay safe as COVID and the crazy orange man is running rampant in the world and giving out bad advice to people. Please protect yourself. Wear a mask when you can. Protect the people around you. And sending out love and blessings to everyone. We will talk to you next week. Peace.